Which conspiracy theory makes too much sense to be ignored? Denver Airport is actually a place for the president and other important people of society to go for a natural disaster, apocalyptic threat, nuclear attack threat, etc. The airport went double the budget, suggesting that there could be some possible underground stronghold of sorts. A few years ago, there was a threat of a meteor striking Earth, and Obama just happened to be in Denver. I've watched videos about it, and the airport itself features many horrific paintings and other disturbing artwork. Overall, it's just a very strange place. Disturbing artwork. Have you seen Blue Cipher? Nothing more welcoming than a demon horse statue right off the highway. Great fact about it, that same horse fell onto and killed the original artist. He was almost done with it too. If an airport going over budget means they're building some kinda secret installation, then they're building the Illuminati home base in Germany right now. Nah, honestly, it's just bad planning. It happens all the time, especially with such projects. Not that hard to believe. In addition, as others have pointed out elsewhere, the real government emergency bunker is right around the corner in the mountains and quite official. Forgot the name right now, though, and an airport is the worst possible kinda hiding place for that, since in times of war it'd be the first one to get bombed/attacked, since it's important infrastructure. Wouldn't make much sense to hide anything there. TWA Flight 800 was brought down by a missile. In the history of aviation, there has never been an in-flight explosion in any Boeing airliner of a jet kerosene fuel vapor/air mixture in any tank, caused by mechanical failure. Commander William Sam Donaldson, US Navy attack pilot and internationally recognized accident investigator. Also, Raylar successfully won a court ruling that he was entitled to documents he had requested under a FOIA action. When the judge ruled in his favor, the FBI and CIA immediately lost the documents and never released them as ordered. And where did a heavy SAM launcher capable of hitting a target at 16,000 feet a few miles offshore come from? Why would a terror attack not be claimed? A missile capable of hitting a target at the ranges we're talking about and sparking a massive explosion that obliterates the target instantly is a very serious piece of hardware. You need the missile and its launcher, plus a radar vehicle, which is not something that can just drive around Long Island. Could have been an e-cigarette battery or a 4-ounce bottle of shampoo, if you believe that SAM. Whoa, a 4-ounce bottle? Easy there, bin Laden. That the cereal industry has calculated the average amount of cereal I pour into a bowl and therefore deliberately fills their boxes with an appropriate amount of cereal so that the last bowl of cereal I pour from the box is never satisfyingly full enough and thus leaving me wanting to buy more. On a related note, the fact that hot dogs come 10 to a pack, but hot dog buns are sold in packs of 8. What if Tenacious D never actually played the best song in the world? They just said they did. You shut your whore mouth. Then the demon would have eaten their souls. They are still here, ergo they played the best song in the world. Just after taking office, Putin orchestrated terror attacks, or, at least, allowed them to happen, to crack down and consolidate his power. I thought this was less conspiracy theory and more like fact. This is true. FSB personnel were apprehended by local security forces in Ryazanski Oblasti, Russian Federation. They were unloading huge amounts of Soviet-era military-grade explosives into the basements of apartment blocks in order to justify military intervention in Chechnya to solidify Putin and Odeon Russia's hold on the Kremlin and the Federation. It worked. I lived in Ryazan and this was unanimously understood as fact. Weirdly, the people who told me about this were huge fans of Putin. https://n.mwikipedia.org/wiki/1999 Russian_apartment_bombings. The government occasionally stages small terrorist attacks and solves them to let the general public think that they are capable. 50 terror plots foiled since 9/11. Read through these, you'll see that you're pretty much correct. They don't exactly stage them. They find nasty terroristy types and provide them with opportunity, then arrest them. Also, there was an FBI agent present during the Garland, Texas shooting for some reason. One that's ignored here is the one of the Manchester Canal serial killer. The death rate along the canal is far higher than anywhere else in the country. The last count I saw was 70, but there have been a few more since, with the majority of deaths all fitting a similar profile, young, male and being separated from friends, yet everyone is dismissed as an accident by the police quite quickly. It's just very unusual. Too many people are dying along the canal for it to be normal. Drunk guys going for a piss and falling in. I reckon so. I saved a friend when he went for a quick piss on a walk home and *splosh* fell in. He leaned forward to make sure he's got his dick out and toppled over into the river head first. I made him get undressed and gave him my coat, jumper, and trousers and we both continued home, him shivering in my, for him, oversized clown pants and me shivering because I'm walking home in t-shirt and boxers carrying his soaked clothes. He was fine the next day. There are some disturbingly plausible theories about who actually killed JFK. The most convincing is that the mafia did it. My favorite theory is nobody shot JFK, his head just did that. Man, my first year of college we had a professor that taught a history class strictly using conspiracy theories to explain them. I was 100% on board with the JFK conspiracy of him being shot from the grassy knoll. Besides the JFK assassination, he went over RFK assassination, MLK assassination, and then some of the shady CIA programs. Pretty strange college class, but they professor was super easy. I turned in my final paper 2 months after the semester ended, and he gave me an A for the class. I told him a conspiracy for why it was late, and he didn't question me. Jeff Winger? I think you mean Professor Orson. Suge Knight stabbed DZ with a syringe that had AIDS-infected blood which, in turn killed D later. He pretty much admitted that he did it when he was on Jimmy Kimmel. I don't have the link, but maybe someone can link it. It's also super likely that Suge Knight played a part in Biggie's death. Suge Knight is also probably involved in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. How about the theory that during the 2016 US presidential election, Putin contacted both major candidates to give them dirt on the other. Then after the election, no matter who won, he could leak the Russian contact story and throw our government into chaos with an eventual impeachment. During the impeachment, when we're distracted, Russia and China quickly make a lot of partnership deals in Eastern Europe and South America. The only problem with this is it ignores how badly Putin wants/needs sanctions lowered. Russia can't really expand effectively in an economic sense due to how destructive these sanctions can be, and only one option really made sense for getting sanctions dropped. Hillary and Putin hate each other. I think the Putin helping out Trump covertly, and at least making offers to help overtly, in order to get sanctions dropped just makes too much sense, especially because it probably would have worked if Trump was even slightly more competent at handling the Russia scandal. It's not really a theory, but Google up MK Ultra. The theory is, naturally, that stuff like this is still going on. I think it's more common sense, but hey, anyone who thinks the US government, the wealthiest and most powerful entity in the world, would simply give up on psychological manipulation and alternative methods of consciousness and mental manipulation used to further their goals is fooling themselves. Ultra carried on under a different name. It's still going today. Chances are, they aren't playing fast and loose with it, like they did back in the 50s and 60s. FDR knew about the Pearl Harbor attack beforehand, and allowed it to happen, so he could justify US involvement in WWII. Any attack on the USA by Japan would have resulted in war. If FDR knew, he could have warned the fleet and ordered that Pearl Harbor be properly defended and nothing would have changed. In fact, that would have allowed the Pacific Fleet to roll out even more quickly, and therefore would have been prudent. Also, how could he have known? The administration suspected that Japan might betray them, so the Japanese ambassador was called in and asked about US/Japan relations, and the ambassador lied and assured them that Japan was still interested in diplomatic talks. The radar in the Pacific at that time was rudimentary and couldn't discern low-flying planes. The US Pacific Fleet did not have patrols on that route at that time. There weren't a lot of vectors for info about the attack to make their way to FDR. And that's partially correct. FDR knew that something was going to happen, but they had no idea when or where. Shout out to all the other Adelaideans out there. Adelaide once had a more comprehensive tram network than Melbourne. During the 1950s, however, it was torn up. The story goes that the premier at the time, Sir Thomas Playford, struck an agreement with General Motors, owners of the Australia car brand Holden, to dismantle the network in return for them establishing a manufacturing plant in the outer northern suburb of Elizabeth. While certainly the tram network increased congestion with the increase in vehicular traffic as car ownership expanded, it's not as crazy as it first sounds. General Motors were fined significant amounts in the United States, under antitrust laws I believe, for buying up tramways and tearing them up to replace them with bus routes. General Motors producing buses and parts for buses, not trams. So it's not unreasonable they might ask the South Australian government, who owned the tram network, to do the same for the financial benefit of General Motors/Holden, not to mention the political and economic benefit to the South Australian government. Course the joke is on us at the end of the day. The General Motors Holden factory is finishing all operation by October this year. Meanwhile the South Australian government is spending millions to rebuild the tram network that was dismantled all those years ago. They did the exact same shit in LA. Los Angeles was building the world's largest subway system in the late 50s. That all stopped when GM bought 90% of the tunnels and sat on them for 60 years.